The UN Human Rights Office has this morning issued a report that details how death, injury and lasting family separation are among the traumatic events that have upended the lives of Ukraine's children in the 3 years since the Russian Federation launched its full-scale invasion. The ongoing hostilities and occupation of parts of Ukraine by the Russian Federation have caused large-scale human rights violations and inflicted unimaginable suffering on millions of children. Their rights have been undermined in every aspect of life, leaving deep scars, both physical and psychological. Between the 24th of February 2022 and the 31st of December 2024, 669 children were killed and 1,833 injured, many as a result of the extensive use of explosive weapons in populated areas. Of these, 521 were killed and 1,529 injured in territory controlled by Ukraine, and 148 were killed and 304 injured in currently occupied territory. The actual numbers are likely much higher. Vast areas of Ukraine are now littered with landmines and explosive remnants of war, posing long-term risks to children's lives and safety. As of December 2024, an estimated 737,000 children had been internally displaced by the hostilities. A further 1.7 million were refugees, many of them separated from a parent, usually their father. Since annexing 4 regions of Ukraine in late 2022, in breach of international law, the Russian Federation authorities have made sweeping and profound changes to laws, institutions and governance there, directly affecting children and their human rights. They have imposed Russian citizenship and the Russian school curriculum, while also restricting any access to education in the Ukrainian language. They've prioritised military patriotic training at school and in youth groups, exposing children to war propaganda. These changes violate international humanitarian law, which obliges the occupying power to protect children, respect their national identity, and maintain the continuity of their education and culture. During the period under review, there were at least 1,614 attacks that destroyed or damaged schools. The Ukrainian authorities have implemented a broad range of measures, including requiring schools to have bomb shelters or to deliver classes online. Frequent air raid alerts disrupt classes, and attacks by Russian armed forces on Ukraine's energy infrastructure have caused repeated power outages that shut down online classes, which are attended either fully or partially by more than a third of Ukrainian children. It's clear that Ukrainian children have endured a wide range of wartime experiences, all with serious impacts. Some as refugees, others as direct victims, under continued threat of bombardment, and many subject to the coercive laws and policies of the Russian authorities in occupied areas. As our report makes clear, acknowledging and addressing violations are essential to ensure a future where all Ukrainian children can reclaim their rights, identity and security, free from the enduring consequences of war and occupation. Just to also note that the High Commissioner will be delivering an oral update on Ukraine next week on Friday the 28th of March. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Liz. This is a really important report, and I'll open the floor to question now. In the room, Lena.
Hi, thank you, Liz. I was wondering if you had any reaction to the fact that the U.S. has closed down the service or the research institute that was looking into the missing children or the children who have been taken to Russia, and if you have any insight into the numbers there, and if your report also looks at that issue. Thank you.
The report makes mention of the children that were either transferred within occupied territory or to Russia. It is something that our colleagues working on Ukraine in the Human Rights Monitoring Mission in Ukraine have reported previously in their periodic reports. I think back in 2023 they highlighted that they documented the cases of some 200 children, many of them living in institutions, who had been apparently transferred in this way. But one of the things to stress in relation to this issue and also with other issues is that we don't have access to those areas. So that makes sort of following up and establishing exactly what happened very difficult. There is reference in the report to the issue of tracing children, which is so important, hugely challenging all round. It also highlights the cases of some parents who've actually themselves tried to go and find the children, often at great risk and expense. So it is an issue that we know that came into the media spotlight quite a while ago, and that it remains, and it is something that is mentioned in the report. So we are aware of it, but as I must stress, we're not in a position to really have much more information than what we've already publicly said.
Nina, is that a request for follow-up?
Just wondering on the program that had existed in the U.S. trying to trace these children and find them. Is that something that your office has relied on in terms of a source, and is that going to make it more difficult if that no longer exists?
That's a good point, Nina, as to what degree colleagues may have been getting information from that. So let me check. But I think it is really important to underscore the importance and the huge challenge of tracing children. But let me check specifically on what links colleagues in the Human Rights Monitoring Mission in Ukraine may have had with this institute. So thank you for raising that.
If there are no other questions in the room, I'll go to the platform, and I see Yuri. Brev.
Yes, thank you, Liz. I have read the report, and there is a moment that I didn't understood. The point 29, you are saying that Russian authorities have reported that 27 children have been killed and 137 injured inside the Russian Federation, but you have not been able to verify these cases, and that's why they are not included in the overall number. If I understand well, it was not included because you don't have access to the Russian territory, but at the same time, you are including the children that are killed and injured in the territories under the Russian control. So I don't understand why this difference. Why, when you don't have access on one side, you are including it and not for the other. Thanks.
Thank you, Yuri. Yes, indeed. As you rightly highlight in paragraph 28 of the report, it is talking about children, 27 children that have been killed in the Russian Federation. But what I think is important to underscore is that the Human Rights Monitoring Mission in Ukraine has had a long established methodology of verifying civilian casualties in Ukraine. So that is why we have consistently in our reports referred to what has been happening in government-controlled territory and what is territory that is occupied by the Russian Federation. So that is why the figures are presented this way. Of course, the colleagues who put together the report thought it was important to sort of highlight.
I think we have an issue on the line. There is a mic which is open. It's okay? Can you go ahead, Liz? Sorry.
Yes, I can go ahead.
Sorry.
Yes. So I'm just sort of trying to explain why the report is presented this way. We have consistently had civilian casualty reporting from government-controlled territory, and based on our previous work, based on our methodology, we have civilian casualty reporting on occupied territory. But we do make it clear in the report that we do know that children have been killed in the Russian Federation. exaggeration, and I think it is important to put that in there, but we have not been able to verify these cases or the circumstances in which they occurred. Hence, they're not included in the overall number of verified casualties. And that's important to also underscore. We're talking about verified casualties. And as I said earlier, the numbers that we have of children, actually of civilians overall, are likely much higher.